If you're taking on brand photography clients without a clear brand strategy in place, you're setting yourself up for a failure. We're revealing the fundamentals you must verify before your next commercial photography session.
Welcome to Commercial Photographer, your guide to marketing, creativity, and growth. This is a podcast that helps commercial, brand, and headshot photographers navigate the competitive world of commercial photography with actionable strategies to grow your business.
Hello, Marcus. How are you doing?
Hello, Sam. I'm very well, thank you. How are
Excellent.
you?
Very good, thank you. And this week we have a guest with us again, Marcus.
Today we have Uta from Carrot and Karma with us. She's here to help us bridge the gap between pretty pictures and high-impact business results. First, we're going to look at the clarity trap and why shooting for a client who hasn't defined their brand strategy is a recipe for a disjointed portfolio. Second, we'll discuss the target audience and why brand photography must be dictated by the viewer, not just the subject. And finally, we'll give you the essential questions you need to ask your clients to ensure every commercial shoot delivers return on investment.
So we have with us this week, we have Uta from Carrot and Karma, who's going to chat to us about branding. Hi, Uta.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Uta.
Now, we were chatting before the show a bit, and we're going to talk about the real fundamentals of branding.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really great to be here, and I'd love to talk more about the importance of having the brand strategy, the fundamentals in place, so that photographers can create a much more impactful shoot for their clients.
So we're talking about the things that should be done before a brand photographer comes up. And so maybe we need to know about these things. So if we are a brand photographer, we can check them in place before we just kind of book in and go for a shoot.
Yes, that's right. So if the brand strategy is not in place and a client doesn't know about or doesn't have much clarity around the target audience, what message they want to communicate, what is the general feeling that they want to bring about when somebody comes across the brand, then it's very difficult for a photographer to create the right images that will really represent the brand in the right way.
Well, those problems sound very familiar to me, Uta, so I'm all ears to see how you can help us solve them.
When we talk about brand strategy, it is really about the foundation of who the brand is,
Right.
who the client is, what the brand is about, their personality, and how they're different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless the brand has this foundation set, it's very difficult to express this with photos. If somebody comes to a photographer and they aren't really clear who they're serving, or they aren't really clear what the feeling is that they want to convey in the photos, then it's very difficult to create the shoot which really aligns with that.
Definitely, 100%.
Then the question is, first of all, it's what sort of things are we asking to work out if somebody has this in place? Because I guess for some people, they may have been through a formal process and they really clearly know it. For some people, they've kind of developed in their head, but actually have this really clear, while for other people, don't have a clue.
Yes. In the beginning, before the shoot takes place, it would be good to have an interview with the client to find out more about how much background work they have done on that. So do they have anything formalized in a brand document or a piece of paper that tells more about who the brand is? Or are they completely new to it and they have been so far following their intuition and been growing the brand, as a one-person business and haven't really thought more about this? So it really depends on where they are on their journey. If they haven't done any work at all, then I would suggest it's important that they actually go away and do that work to get that foundation in place before they are booking a photo shoot, because it will be difficult to do that shoot. If they have some idea and they want to get started, then as a photographer, you could ask more questions about, for example, who are your ideal clients? What feelings do you want to evoke when people come across your brand for the first time? Where are these images being used? What makes you different from other competitors in your field? And what is the purpose and the intention of those images, of those photos.
Going back to what you said earlier, Ute, you said interview. And I remember when I started off as a branding photographer, personal branding, I would send out a document that I would hope the client would fill in. You know, it's quite an in-depth document. Of course, it was too much for the client. It was another step, another barrier, as it were. So what I've started to do online, just a 15-minute quick chat. And what's great for me is that being a visual person, I get to see them and I get to see what they look like and their clothes and their surroundings. And it all helps as well to give me those subliminal messages.
Yeah, this is an excellent idea to have an interview and meet them virtually online. I think another really great way for photographers to differentiate themselves from other photographers is to offer that when you're offering this interview at the beginning, you're already coming from a different place as you're starting with intention. So it's not just about taking beautiful photos and creating stunning looking images, but you are having an intention behind why you're taking these images for this brand. And so photographers can really change their positioning themselves from just being a service provider to actually being a strategic partner to the brand.
So photographers could almost get more skills and help their clients develop the brand. And obviously you could choose to charge more for that, or it could be because of those skills you automatically charge more, but you could become part of the business and really help them.
Yes, absolutely. And one way which most photographers probably won't be approaching that is to actually look at the customer or client's journey that the client goes through when they're encountering a brand. If we look broadly at the client's or customer's journey, there are 4 stages, and I'm going to keep them simple. So the first stage is the awareness stage. This is where somebody comes across the brand for the first time. So that might be they see a hero image on the website or a social media image or an ad. So this is the first stage. For this particular first stage, there need to be a certain type of photo, certain type of image. So these images that are, for example, on a hero image, they need to convey straight away who is this brand, who do they help, and what is their personality or the feeling that they want to convey. So the intention then from the photo shoot is, okay, we need to take photos for this first step of the journey, but that's just the first step. The second step is then where clients or prospective customers want to find out more about the brand. They want to see whether they can trust the brand. And so for this particular stage of a customer's journey, you need to take different photos. So this is about behind the scenes images, or it could be photos of the founder and the team. So where people get more insight into what is actually happening and they can create that trust and the credibility. And then the third stage of this customer journey is where they will want to find out more about a particular product or service. So this is where they make the decision. And again, for this stage of the journey, you will need to have different photos. So this is more detailed photography, for example, of the product or the service, so that a prospective customer can get a real good visual and idea about what it is that they're actually signing up for. And then the last stage that many people forget is actually the onboarding and the ongoing nurturing of a client or customer relationship. And again, for this stage, you also need to have different types of images. So maybe there are some welcoming images. Maybe a coach has a welcoming guide and they need some photos for that. So, and if you then frame this as brand shoot is not you're creating a wonderful gallery of images which look beautiful, but you've got a real strategy behind. So there are photos for every stage and you're accompanying the customer with your images throughout all stages. And so then your photos become a real strong asset for the brand because they're much more than just beautiful pictures.
And do you know what? I'm just actually writing an article for a magazine exactly what you were just saying. So I'm really pleased to hear that. And of course, that can be done in one shoot, but in a 3-hour session, all those images, all those assets. But I would encourage our listeners out there to get their clients to sign up for a subscription service where you can do maybe 4 shoots and tackle each of those
Yeah,
issues
exactly. So there would
throughout
be an
the
ongoing
year.
service because you always need to have also fresh images. And this is where this relationship, where you can really build that and nurture that relationship with the brand that you're supporting. When they see you as that strategic partner, as I've mentioned before, then they will be really much more likely continuing this relationship and nurturing that. And you can accompany them throughout the year, seasonal photo shoots, whatever it may be that they would like to have.
And price wise, it's very different. Being a person that somebody calls in for a service, I need 10 shots.
Yes.
Who can I get? Spend a few quid, to I need a strategic partner for my business.
Exactly. Sam.
The price you're willing to pay
Yes.
for that is completely.
You're into a whole different game of adding so much more value. You're taking it from that headshot, that LinkedIn headshot, to something where you're going to be so much
Absolutely. It
ongoing
becomes
onboarding information.
much more than just the headshot.
So are you thinking, Uta, when you deliver the photos, you're literally going to group them and go, okay, these are really good awareness photos, these are really good onboarding photos, and literally deliver them in that way to really kind of help them work out what to do with the images?
Exactly, because it is important that also the reasoning behind and what they're being used for is shared with the client, because often they might not know or initially understand the relationship between the photos and the stage of the customer. So educating your clients about that, again, you're adding more value, and they will quickly see how they correlate.
May I ask you, Uta, about the personal images, like if someone's into playing golf or football? Do you think there's value in adding those photographs?
Yes, absolutely. I think people want to know the brand, but the founder of the brand, the person behind, is always really strong, especially if you're on social media. It's really the founder of the brand who is representing them. To show behind the scenes or personal photos are definitely also important to have.
And again, another part of the subscription process where you can do another shoot just based around that. And
Yeah.
they might get some family photos. Who knows where you can take it?
My only thought with that, is there a balance? Donald Miller's old story brand idea that you need to be the guide and not the hero. Is there a balance with those, the worry that if you don't do them quite right, you're trying to be the hero rather than the guide, and that can be a problem?
Yeah, and that is a good question. And there are a couple of things. First, it depends on where is the customer in their journey, because when they're in the awareness stage, they won't be interested in whether the founder is playing football or is running a marathon, supporting a charitable organization. It depends on whether what they're also showing of themselves is aligned with the brand. So if it is a purpose-driven organization or a founder, and they're really feeling passionate about a certain cause, and they're personally involved in, running that marathon, for example. So sharing those photos on social media and taking photos of that is certainly a good idea. And it is also authentic, because that is what they're doing. If the photos are not at all in any way relating to anything that the brand is offering, then I would question whether that is a good idea to share the photos. So there does need to be some strategy as well in what images are being shared, so it aligns with the brand.
And then on social media, do we have an issue? Because although there are some people who are in the awareness phase on social media, we've also presumably got social media people who are clients and people who are kind of at the other phases. So do we just do the awareness kind of photos on social media, or do we do a bit of a mix because we've got different people there?
Well, it's a bit of a mix. So many photos, the people just won't see those photos or really take them in that they are not kind of ready for, or that they don't resonate with at the moment, but definitely putting in a mix, because you will find people of different stages on their journey looking at the social media feed.
So, it sounds like here there's a big education piece with clients, not just about making sure their brand's aligned to start with, which you talked about, which is a big piece, but also then guiding them with what to do with the photos afterwards, rather than just going, there's the link, off you go, see you next time.
Yes, absolutely. And photos and images are such an important part of a brand and how to attract customers and clients, because it is the first thing that we are seeing. So that these images are really, spot on and reflective of who the brand is so important. And so there's a wonderful, valuable opportunity for photographers to create, an ongoing service in supporting clients with the brand around that.
Yeah, totally. And also what I love to do is when I'm working with my subscription clients is including the text, putting out gifts for them, whatever it might be, because it just gives you so much more creative control
Yeah,
as a
absolutely.
photographer. Where do you see personal branding, with photography in particular, obviously, moving towards in the future in this AI-driven world?
Well, I think in this AI-driven world, it is more important than ever to actually see authentic, real photos of the founder and the people. It's more important than ever to have that. People don't like AI photos of people and clones. We want to see real people. So I think photography is going to stay important in that sense.
Yeah, in the Netherlands there was did you see there's a McDonald's advert in the Netherlands that was fully AI, and they've pulled it because people didn't like it.
Do you think it's going to maybe benefit photographers who've got maybe a looser style, or maybe photographers can try and make their style more authentic? Do you think there's scope there for photographers to do work that looks more real?
What do you mean by work that looks more real?
I'm talking more lifestyle as opposed to staged portrait that can be copied quite easily in AI. A little bit looser, a little bit rough and ready.
Yes, not too polished. Yeah, because AI is.
Do we almost need to go back? I remember because my dad was a photographer years ago, and there was obviously when he was picturing the bride, pick up the bits of litter that are nearby, so it all looks as neat as possible. Do you always need to step back from that slightly and go, actually, we're going to leave a few things out of place so it shows it's real?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are heading there because everything is too polished and too perfect. Then people also doubt it could be AI. It could not be real and authentic. Absolutely.
For a photographer, that's quite a challenge, which I think we could really embrace because it's going to make it just pull out more, be more creative, coming up with more original ideas.
Yeah. I've got a question I think we need to think about for a photographer. So if you're a brand photographer, you've got a prospective client comes along, they clearly are clueless about their brand. Maybe we're at this stage thinking of skilling ourselves up to help with the brand, but we're not quite ready for that yet. Should we at that point say, no, I'm not going to do your brand photo shoot. Come back in 3 weeks once you've spoken to Uta or once you've spoken to someone else. Don't have your photo shoot done now.
I would go with that. I agree, because if a client isn't ready and, you can create good looking photos, absolutely, they will still look really great because you're a photographer. But the question is, how much value do you then give in the client? Because the client might need to come back then in 6 months again to take another set of photos, or they might go to somebody else. And if you're coming with that strategic angle right from the beginning, they will see you and trust you more in that. So I think it's real value in also saying you're not ready for that at the moment. If you come back in 3 weeks after you've done that work, we can, do a really effective photo shoot.
I would definitely agree with that. They come along and they haven't really thought about their brand colours, and you do the whole shoot with your pink bias, and all of a sudden they said, we're going to use blue. That's a waste of a shoot.
Yeah.
So the basic answer is be brave and be prepared to say no. But if they listen, they will probably come back and be actually a valuable long-term client. Well, if you say yes, you might get the one photo shoot, but you're unlikely to get them again.
Exactly.
But it is always hard, that, isn't it, to say no?
It is not easy, but I think that once you've done it a couple of times and you realize that actually this is working much better, you know that this is the right way.
Definitely. The clients that I photograph who have got brand documents in place and have thought about it and got a professional involved are so much more easy to shoot with. And, the process is so much more simpler.
Yeah.
Uta, can I ask you just to come up with some of your favourite brands?
My favorite brands, they're all B Corps. They're all related to dog food and outdoor clothing. Favorite dog brand, Fourth Glade dog food.
Oh, really? Fourth Glade. Okay. Why is that?
Because of how they have sourced the material. What I mean is to make the dog food. And that is how I came first across it, because it's really important to me where it comes from. And it's UK based and all manufactured in the UK.
I mean, it's a good subject to talk about dog food and branding, isn't it? Because it's all about the branding. We obviously don't taste it. We haven't got a clue, have we?
We have an awful lot then for our photographers to go away and think about now. Are they going to help people with the brands themselves? Are they going to partner with somebody who's a brand expert? All sorts of things to think about there, and about that kind of purpose for their shoots and for their photos.
That conversation with Uta really hit home for me. It's a reminder that we aren't just there to take photos, we are there to execute a vision. One thing that really stood out was the idea that brand photography is essentially hollow if the client hasn't done the heavy lifting on their brand strategy first. We have to be the ones to check that those foundations are really solid. I also love the point about feeling. A commercial photographer needs to know exactly what emotions the brand wants to trigger before they can choose the right lighting or composition. And finally, it's about that pre-shoot checklist. Making sure the message and the audience are aligned isn't just extra work, it's the difference between a happy client and a one-off job.
And don't forget that you can get for free the Commercial Photographer Guide to Creativity and Marketing. After all, that's what this show is all about. To get your free download, all you need to do is go to our website at commercial-photographer-podcast.com/creativity. Let me do that one again. commercial-photographer-podcast.com/creativity. And from there, you can get your free guide from us to marketing and creativity. Thank you so much, Uta. That has been amazing. Loads for our photographers to go away and think about. If people do want some help with their branding, want to chat about branding and things, what's the best way to get hold of you, Uta? What can they do?
To look for my website, carrotandkarma.com, and reach out to me to book a discovery call, and then we can have an informal chat.
Excellent. That sounds really good. So thank you very much for being with us, Uta. And Marcus.
See you next week. And again, thank you, Uta.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to make sure you never miss a show, head to the website commercial-photographer-podcast.com and sign up to the newsletter. We'll be back next week with more practical advice to help you grow your business. See you next time.